Welcome to The Story Behind the Artist, the podcast that goes beyond the surface of permanent makeup to explore the real stories behind people shaping this industry. From artists and educators to the quiet forces raising standards behind the scenes. Whether you're building your confidence, refining your skill, or carving out your place in this space, this is where we unpack the journeys that remind us none of this happens overnight. Today's guest is someone whose influence reaches far beyond the treatment bed. An artist, educator and organiser who has helped create spaces where the industry comes together, most notably through her work behind the UK PMU Conference, now the largest conference of its kind in the country. But this episode isn't about scale, it's about identity. It's about the daydreamer who never quite felt she fitted in, the capable student who was told she could do even better, the woman who didn't build her career through a rigid master plan, but through a series of small pivots, quiet resilience, and an ability to adapt when life shifted direction. We talk about imposter syndrome, motherhood, flexibility becoming strength, and what success looks like when stability and integrity matter more than visibility. Because sometimes the people holding the industry together are still figuring it out themselves. So whether you see yourself as steady, skeptical, optimistic, or still evolving, this conversation is for you. Hello, Alice. Thank you so much for being here today. I am so excited for you to be here. You are, to me, you are the PMU queen.
Oh, wow.
I just see you as the queen.
Thank you for inviting me.
And you do so much for our industry, and that's why we really wanted you to come today, because you hold so much of the industry together, but we don't always know much about you and who you are. And so today I wanted to invite you to come and just to talk about you and how you created everything that you've created over the years within our industry. So I would love to start right at the beginning, and I would love you to tell me a little bit about you as a child, what you were like. I know that so much of who we are is because of who we were when we were children. Mm-hmm. So I'd love to explore that a little bit more, if that's okay.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Where did you grow up?
So I grew up on the borders of East London and Essex.
Amazing.
A town called Ilford.
Yeah.
And Ilford as a town, and it still is quite a divided town. You've got part of it which is quite quite poor, and then you've got, well, not poor, but it's a very divided town.
Yeah.
Some parts are quite nice and other parts are a little bit more run down.
Yeah.
A lot of my friends at school would gently take the mickey out of me because I grew up on one of the roads that had trees down it. So it was considered the nicer part of town.
Yeah.
And it was a really, really nice place to live, to grow up. We had lots of friends in our street that all went to our school. We would ride on bikes. As a child, my parents would say that I was definitely a thrower of tantrums. I was quite adventurous, I think. I liked roller coasters.
Okay.
I was quite an adventurous child and very forthright, quite confident as a kid.
Okay.
Yeah.
Amazing. And I read that you said that you felt like you didn't always quite fit in at school.
No, and I think that maybe that's because I was confident in my own skin, but I would question that. Mm-hmm. So if we were in a circle of friends and they were doing something that I didn't want to do or had an opinion that I didn't agree with, mm-hmm. I would say, I'm not doing that, or I disagree with that. And I think that's probably where my feeling of not fitting in maybe came from.
Maybe not following the crowd so much.
I didn't want to conform, I think. I was quite happy not to conform. Until I then felt, maybe I should conform. So I guess there was a bit of a conflict there with my personality and how I felt that I needed to be.
Yeah. And I find that so fascinating because I feel like when lots of people that I speak to that feel like they don't fit in often feel like they're kind of observing from the outside what's happening. So you said,
absolutely,
there'd be children doing stuff that then you think, no, I shouldn't do that. And often that's because you're observing the situation and what's going on. And I wonder whether that had a part to play in the roles that you have now, especially with the UK PMU Conference, which is the largest conference in the UK, and how you've strung those things together by really observing what's happening in the industry and then being able to respond to that. Do you think that there's been a link there with that?
Quite possibly. None of it intentional, though. None of it intentional, but quite possibly.
Yeah.
I do tend to have a bit of a sort of flip of two sides, and that will probably come up a lot as we talk through this morning, in that sometimes there are very intentional choices that I make and intentional observations, and sometimes I can jump in with both feet without looking. So.
And what were you like as a child?
Not always intentional.
Do you feel like as a child you were quite intentional, or do you feel like you would?
I think because I was quite confident, I would jump in quite a lot. I was quite adventurous as a child. I think it's only as I got a bit older.
And we all get scared.
We all get scared. We have children. Things tend to hurt more when you're older and you get bruised or bashed or whatever. I think you consider. I definitely consider things much more as an adult than I did as a child. And my parents were always, they weren't parents that wrapped us up in cotton wool.
Okay.
If we wanted to climb a tree. If you want to go outside of your comfort zone, then you can do that. We did quite a lot of things that other children wouldn't do, like my first Glastonbury, I think I was 5 or 6 years old.
Oh, wow.
So we did a lot of things that weren't necessarily conventional for a lot of families.
Yeah. And that's so interesting as well, because I know from meeting you, I feel like you are such a beacon of light for advice, for guidance for people within the industry. And I know certainly for me you have been, where you've kind of signposted me to things and you've got me to kind of think a little bit out of the box in certain areas and things like that. And I think, do you think that's where that came from, is being led like that by your parents? And
maybe
you've kind of become like that yourself in
yeah,
what you do?
Maybe. I mean, we were certainly my mum and certainly my grandfather are very big on, question things, question the world around you. And so I think that's a trait that I've always had, and not question in a negative way, but try and understand other people's points of view, try and understand if it's a personal or a business decision, what the what the pros and the cons are, what the outcomes could be, how things could affect you. But as I say, I don't do that all the time. Sometimes I just go, yeah, that sounds like a good idea, why not? Let's do it. Let's see what happens.
And do you think that's the optimism in you? Because I read as well that you're an optimistic person. You try to see the good in everybody, despite maybe the things that are going on in the world. And you've always had those conversations with your parents, you said, about what's going on in the world, but have always tried to see the kind of good in people.
I'm definitely not a catastrophiser. So if a problem comes up, whether it be personal, family, health, business, I always try and see what the plan is, how we can do sort of damage limitation if we need to, but looking on the positive side of things. Yeah. Because I think also in business and also as an artist, we can always think about what the worst outcomes can be. And that sometimes stops us a lot from making decisions, and it also makes us really unhappy. If you tell yourself that everything's bad all the time, then, I think I'm a bit of we were talking about hippie-ish behaviour earlier, I'm a bit like that myself, in that, I very much believe that what you tell the mind's very powerful. What you tell your mind can really change the way that you think and feel about things. So yes, I'd like to see myself as an optimist.
I love that. So having that almost internal dialogue all the time, do you think that has got you through some of it? Because I know, and we're going to talk more about the conference as we go through, but I know organising events myself, how much of a strain that is mentally. Expectations, managing lots of different roles, lots of different people, etc. Do you think that internal dialogue has definitely been there for you, having that positive talk to yourself?
It does, yeah. But also it can be sometimes quite negative, not in the way that I think about things, because I will try and take an optimistic view.
Yeah.
But my internal dialogue is crazy.
Okay. Tell us a bit about
that. I probably have 50 thoughts before breakfast about various different things, and that is, I guess, my brain processing different elements of all sorts of things. What I should have for breakfast, who I should invite to be a speaker, what I need to order, whether the kids are going back to school, what my husband would like for dinner, and that kind of mental processing, whilst it helps me, as I'm getting older, I'm having to learn that sometimes I don't need to process everything.
Yeah.
So
can it feel like a burden, a bit of a burden sometimes?
Yeah, it can do. I think a lot of that's age, though.
Oh, so it's just going to get worse.
It's just going to get worse.
But tell us what is going on inside, because I think sometimes it's nice to know and nice to hear actually what is happening behind that, because we all have to keep ourselves together. We all have to put a brave face on, and some of us are able to do that better than others. And you are fantastic at holding everything together. But tell us a little bit about, what is that like?
I'm very good at providing my mask. I have various masks, and one of them is holding it together, I think. Ashley, the brow wizard, said to me after the last conference, he said, I was looking around the room, he said, and anyone else that had put this together, he said, I would expect to be highly stressed. He said, and you glided past me with a glass of Prosecco and your Louis Vuitton over your shoulder, looking like you were taking it all in your all in your stride.
I was so impressed.
But my mind's a bit of a jumble sale. So I guess for anyone that's listening to this, those people, I mean, maybe there are some people that are always put together. I don't intentionally try and outfit change and glide through. I think I'm just used to being that, that analogy of swan on the surface with my little legs underneath, going, oh my God, what's going on? I've got to think about lots of things all at the same time. So
it's such a skill, and I think real testament to what you said about your internal dialogue as well, about being positive and optimistic, because actually if you just keep telling yourself it's all going terribly, you are going to just put yourself in a bad place, aren't you?
Yeah, I think so. I think it's important to have that sunshine outlook wherever you can.
Yeah,
for sure,
absolutely.
And I've got people that help me with that. My husband, who's just sat just over there, is very good. He's very good at telling me to put my laptop down, and is that important? Does it need to be done today? So it's also important to have those helpers.
Yeah. So tell us about your husband. How did you meet? How long have you been together? Because I know he's part of your team. Yeah.
What do you want to know? I am really bad at dates, by the way. So things like the time that our children were born, what they weighed. I know their birthdays, but I always get them
exactly
confused.
the same. I feel like that's an age thing.
But you've got a whole brood of children. I've only got 2. Steve is fantastic at dates, and I'm just saying that now because I will probably give you some information about when we met and he'll be rolling his eyes in the corner thinking that wasn't right. So we met, we've been together about 20 years. I'm just going to look over at him for, is that right? 21 years. 21. So see, I told you I'd get it wrong.
That's so good for a man as well. Like, I feel like not many men remember.
Yeah. He's really good at dates. So yeah, we've been together for 21 years, and we met by chance. I was working away for a company based up in York, and I have a friend that lives in Cardiff who my husband used to go to school with. And she said, I'm having a barbecue this weekend. And I jokingly said, well, you haven't invited me. And she said, well, you live in London. And I was like, well, actually, I'm in York. But I could come this weekend. It would take me exactly the same amount of time to get to Cardiff as it would to go home to London. So I'll come and spend the weekend with you. And that's where we met. And the very next day, he was going out to Iraq for 6 months.
Wow.
So, yeah, we didn't have the normal kind of dating scenario when we met because he wasn't here. But that was quite nice. We got to...
So you kept in communication the whole time while he was in Iraq?
Eventually we did,
okay.
Yeah. There was a little bit of backwards and forwards about swapping telephone numbers and details and things, but we wrote letters, and it was probably only about once a week that he was able to get like Wi-Fi connection.
Okay.
So I'd come home and check the email, which on the time was either on a BlackBerry, for those that are old enough to remember 21 years ago, or on MSN Messenger.
Oh, my God.
Again, for those of you that are old enough to remember what that is. That's how our relationship kind of started, really, was long distance. Yeah.
So Steve is in the military, still in the military?
He's still in the military.
So... yeah, just tell us a little bit how that relationship then unfolded, because I know that has also had, shaped you to who you are today as well, because
Definitely.
Managing that kind of long-distance relationship, again, is something you've got to navigate, isn't it, and get through.
And I think the word navigation is key. Mm-hmm. That's what he and I have been really good, is that navigating through lots of changes. So we were together for around 5 years before we got married. I think probably after about 2 years, every time I had a glass of wine, I'd say to him, please marry me. Please marry me.
Oh,
and
so sweet.
He would say that we had to wait until he wasn't going to be going away quite so often.
Okay.
Because we hadn't lived together. We knew each other really well, but we'd never kind of shared a house or a home for longer than a few months at a time, because he'd be off and he'd be away. So we were together for 5 years before we got married. And then right after we married, we moved from sort of East London, Essex borders to Wales. So 4.5, 5 hours away from family. Very quickly decided that we were going to have a family, and was very lucky to fall pregnant very, very quickly. And I think it was a tough time for me. Motherhood definitely knocked my confidence.
Okay.
As I think it does for lots of people.
Yeah, definitely, especially when you are navigating as well that longer distance. And so was Steve away a lot when you first had your daughter? Was your first child, wasn't she?
Archie, our son's our first.
Yes.
So Steve timed things impeccably to be away for the difficult parts when they were very small, which I know was really difficult for him, actually. Yeah. Often we think about the military wives that are kind of left literally holding the baby, but it was also really difficult for Steve.
Yeah, of course.
In a way, it made things easier, because it was only me that I had to consider. I didn't have to worry about someone else coming home and, what their needs were. I just had to worry about myself and Archie.
Yeah.
And if we got up at 2:00 in the morning and I had a cheese sandwich for dinner, it wasn't a problem. Not that it would have been a problem to give Steve a cheese sandwich for dinner, but it was. It gave me the freedom to be able to not have to worry about waking someone else up in the middle of the night, or someone else having to go to work, or anything like that.
Okay.
So whilst it was difficult, I think there were also a lot of benefits in a way. And he's such a hands-on dad when he is about, such a hands-on dad. Not that there was ever anything to make up for, but it wasn't like he'd then just come home and not be interested in family life and helping out with the kids. He's always been very family-centric.
Yeah. So going back a little bit, had you already got into the beauty industry before you had Archie?
No. So
okay.
when Steve and I got married, I was working in financial services.
Okay.
So I had various jobs and landed in a role doing financial services, got qualified as a financial services advisor, and I was working for a company that packaged mortgages. So we were very into the kind of subprime mortgages that were part of the sort of financial crash in around 2008.
Yeah.
And the company that I was working for then was kind of limping on. So this was 2011. And we moved to just outside Cardiff. I got a role working for Lloyds Bank, which was like a 6-month consultant role. And that finished when I was 3 months pregnant. So I really didn't know what to do.
Okay.
I didn't have long enough left of the pregnancy to kind of find another job. I didn't feel that I had time to find another job, because if I found something, I'd then be having a baby and or going to an interview with a bump, which I wasn't sure, how many employers would be keen at taking someone on at that point. And the kind of plan was that we'd have Archie. Steve was due to go away anyway. So again, it would have been really difficult for me to have like a, normal 9 to 5 because there wouldn't have been childcare. And that maybe I would take on a portfolio of private clients doing mortgages and finance and investment.
Okay.
I didn't really want to do that though. Boring, really boring. And I met another military wife who was doing beauty treatments in her bedroom in one of the military houses.
Yeah.
And
so were you in a military house at the time?
We were in military house at the time. She was in military house just down the road. She had a son and a daughter she was pregnant with her daughter at the time. So we kind of, made friends. And she wanted to invest in skincare because we were both getting older and sort of saying, have you seen this treatment and have you seen that? And we could buy these machines and we could just do it ourselves. So she decided that she was going to invest some money into some sort of advanced skincare machines, and had asked me if I would help her with a business plan and work bits through, which I did. And I just became more and more interested in it. I've always been interested in hair and skin and science. And these advanced treatments were, a lot of the kind of theory that she was being asked to learn about fibroblast cells and the layers of the skin really ticked boxes for me. And the first couple of machines that she bought included manufacturer's training.
Okay.
And she said, why don't you come with me and they'll train you. You can take the notes. You've got a good memory. We'll go together. And that's kind of how it started.
Wow. And you had Archie already at this point, or you were pregnant with Archie?
I was pregnant with Archie at this point.
Okay.
And I bought a cool sculpting machine. Was Archie already born when I bought that? Yeah. My granddad, who's very financially astute, decided to give us all some inheritance because he wanted us to have it early so he could check what we were spending it on. And he gave us some money, and I thought, I'm going to take a risk. I'm going to buy one of these machines that I've seen and go for it.
Amazing.
And originally I was doing fat freezing treatments in the utility room of a military house.
Wow.
Steve's laughing because it was a bit of a nightmare, really.
Really?
Well, because clients would turn up and they'd have to come through the kitchen, so I'd have to kind of tidy everything up, and we had screens up, and there was this big ugly boiler in the corner of the room that I got totally obsessed about needing to box in and disguise.
Oh, I know. It's terrible, isn't it? I remember the same. My first room, everyone having to come through the front room and there being baby stuff everywhere and trying to put it away. And
these treatments weren't cheap. And I guess I very vividly remember having a conversation with Steve and saying to him, look, I'm going to spend X amount of £1,000 on this machine. And him kind of going, oh, yeah, that sounds a bit risky. And me thinking, well, even if I do one treatment a month, it will have paid for itself in however long. But it didn't happen like that. The phone didn't stop ringing.
Wow.
I ended up putting Archie into full-time childcare so that I could hang out in my utility room with my cool sculpting machine. And then when we got pregnant with our second child, Rose, there's about 2.5 years in between them. Again, I kind of made a decision that I was going to stop.
Yeah.
So I stopped advertising the treatments, but the phone didn't stop ringing. And I thought, I've got to do something.
Yeah.
I can't just stop. So at about 34 weeks pregnant, I opened a fat freezing clinic in Cardiff, hired a manager.
Wow.
And off it went.
Wow, amazing.
And that gave us some good financial freedom.
Yeah.
It did really, really well, but again, it was pretty boring.
Okay.
We did skin treatments and I learnt blemish removal, and we did radio frequency skin tightening and things like that. But a lot of the treatments there was no instant gratification from them. I felt a little bit fraudulent taking money from people where there wasn't that you couldn't see that really anything had been done.
Yes.
You know?
Okay. Interesting. So from there, in fact, I want to go back a little bit and then we'll come back to that. So you said that when you had Archie, when you fell pregnant, motherhood felt a little bit, it didn't sit how you thought it would. What do you think caused that? Was it your kind of career choices, or tell us a little bit about that?
I don't know. I mean, in a way, I'm really maternal, and in another way, I'm really not. Again, there's that flip-flop side of things.
Yeah.
So I like doing arts and crafts with the kids. I like doing leaf paintings. I like going for walks. I like cooking. I don't mind tidying up. But there was just so much of it. So much entertaining of a small person or looking after their needs. I think I just massively felt like a fish out of water.
Okay.
Going to baby groups and sitting with groups of women that I'd never met, I would do. But it kind of felt really unfulfilling.
Do you think the reason I went back to that is because you mentioned about being younger, being at school and not quite fitting in, being a bit of a non-conformer, being a bit of an observer. And often when we become mothers, we do have to kind of fit this box and this mould, don't we? And actually it's not always necessarily.
Oh, I definitely didn't do that, Lara. There was no boxes I was going to be put in as a mother. I drove Steve round the bend before having Archie because I was determined that we were going to do hypnobirthing, and I wasn't going to join NCT because NCT were all NHS robots, and so he just went, yeah, all right, fine, like happy wife, happy life. Yes, darling, if that's what you want to do. The hospital were. Because of where we were located, things like nurse-led birthing units weren't widely available. So again, it was like, well, we'll just go further away then, Alice, because, you don't want to be in a consultant-led unit. And I was all about statistics and so on and so forth. And I think I was probably I know I was like that with other mums. The living on a military base, a lot of people in the military get married quite young, and they tend to have families quite young. So there I was, 31, 32, and most of the people that were at the local baby groups or at the local soft play were in their 20s. So I already felt that I didn't have an awful lot in common with them. And I found it supremely frustrating that they didn't question anything, that they didn't talk about anything other than their children. And I love my children, but there are only so many times at the age of 3 months old that you can talk about baby rice before you want to kill yourself. And that's what it felt like to me.
And I kind of hovered on that topic because I think, again, there will be a lot of people listening to this who will probably feel very similar, because I think the more of these interviews I do and the more events I do and I speak to so many artists, we are all quite out-the-box thinkers. We tend to be quite out-the-box thinkers, tend to be quite non-conformist. And I wonder whether there is that tie there.
Maybe.
With so many areas of life. And sometimes, being a mother is such is the most important role. But feeling like you don't fit into that stereotypical mother can be really tough, because mum guilt is the worst type of guilt you can ever have, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. But it was kind of, I'm quite happy to conform, but I want to know why.
Yeah.
Why are you feeding your child this? Why are you doing it like that? Where did you get that from? Who told you that? What's the evidence? Why does it work for you? Even if there's no evidence, that's fine. Tell me why it works for you,
Yeah. And a lot of these groups are like that, aren't they? Like, I worked in a children's centre for years, and I remember we'd have to pull up parents for things that they were doing if it wasn't what the latest research had said or what this had said. And I just think, but that's not my place to tell a parent what they should and shouldn't be doing. But it can feel like that, can't it, in those kind of situations where everybody is doing the same thing, so therefore you should be doing the same thing again. If you're not, then... But
I also felt like, I guess a lot of mothers, having a child is so consuming that, and their needs come first. And I don't know, maybe I'm a little bit more selfish than I thought I was, because I don't know, I never resented doing things or spending time with the children, but I did definitely feel that I lost me, that I lost my identity. And that's one of the things, in a way, which has been so nice about learning permanent makeup and having this career, is that it has given me an identity. I don't recognise the person that you talk about when you introduce me. It seems really weird, but it's given me a sense of self and an identity and something that was mine. It's not my husband's, it's not my children's, it's It's something that is powered by me, with their support, of course.
Yeah.
But that knock of confidence through motherhood, having something for me, definitely has balanced that.
Yeah.
Definitely.
And I think it is that value, isn't it, that you can bring to whatever you're doing. Like, identity, it's so important that we have value in our identity, isn't it? And I can see that from you talking about setting up your business, and you're providing that value for women coming in, but also at the same time feeding that part of who you are as well, and having something.
And I think, I spend a lot of time, as I'm sure artists do, speaking to women about how they feel unseen and unvalued. So most of us are part artist, part social worker.
Absolutely.
Time and time again, women will say, I'm here, and the reason I'm here is because I've decided I needed to do something for myself. And hey, if you can do that for someone with a set of eyebrows, I mean, that's just magic, right?
Absolutely.
I mean, who knew?
Who knew? We were at an event yesterday, and one of the ladies that was there was helping Stephanie, who was hosting it for us, and she said, I just never knew this was a whole thing. Like, this is a whole world. And it's like, you just don't know, do you? You don't know that it exists. You don't know that it's happening. But it is a real nice piece of, like you said, something that we can do as women that also allows us to also be mothers, work around our children, be able to choose our hours. Super flexible. So it is a real gift. It's hard, but it's a real gift. So, yeah, amazing. Thank you for sharing that. So from there, where did you go from setting up? So you were feeling a little bit bored, or that you weren't giving as much value as you wanted to your clients. Where did you go from there?
So I had my own eyebrows done. By a lady who had recently qualified.
Okay.
And I can't remember exactly what her background was, but I think, career-wise, it was quite similar to mine. And she also seemed quite scientific in her approach. And I thought, I could do this. This is really interesting. And this is like something which is instantly gratifying.
Yeah.
It ticks the boxes with things like art, which I quite like that creative side of things. It ticks the box with science. The money looks like it's relatively good. So rather than having to work long hours, if it's something that's profitable, great. And so I looked into, and this was around the time when the sort of 2-3 day microblading courses were just kind of, entering the market. So when I originally looked, it was in the time when it was sort of thousands and thousands for a 5-day course and a big digital machine. And we weren't in the position to be able to do that. So I started looking into microblading, looking into just the niche of eyebrows. And I trained with Everlasting Brows in 2015-16. I chose them because they were one of the only educators that could answer any of my questions. I had a list of about 25 different things about what I would get on the course, what I would learn, what the support was like, just, general questions.
That is like gold, isn't it?
Yeah.
That is what you want for everyone coming into the industry, have a list of questions.
And in a way, it still really surprises me. I train beginners. The amount of beginners that book and barely ask anything, which for me is brilliant.
Yeah.
But I had a list of questions. Yeah. And they were very, very helpful. I even had some trainers say, why are you asking all these questions? We don't think you're the right student for us. And I thought, well, you're not the right company for me.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's where it started. It started for me with I think it was a 3-day microblading course, which I was rubbish at.
I think we all were.
Yeah, I was rubbish at.
None of us realised how hard it really is.
No, because the people that are good make it look really easy. make it look really easy. But I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
I enjoyed it.
Yeah. The challenge. Do you think it was the challenge? Yeah.
Definitely. I arrived on model day outside Holloway Road train station and was sick outside the sandwich shop because I was that nervous. And I'd never really been a nervous person. Like before motherhood and things, nerves was not really something. It's not really part of my persona. But I also think that's why I enjoyed it, because I pushed through that, and
it wasn't easy.
It wasn't easy, but I got there. Steve and I went on a holiday to France. I think it was probably 6 months, maybe a year after I'd taken my initial training, and I'd just been asked to do some work with Everlasting Brows as sort of a bit of an ambassador for them, because we'd stayed in touch, because I was a pain in the arse of a student. And we went to Morzine in France, and I did a what did I do? What's it called? Threw myself off of the cliff.
Oh, paraglide.
Did a paraglide. So we went to Morzine and I did a paraglide, and I can distinctly remember underneath the canopy thinking, I'm not sure if I would have had the confidence to do this before I learned microblading.
Wow.
What a random connection.
So interesting.
But again, it was that you can do this. You can do things that make you feel uncomfortable.
I think that's such interesting thing that you said there, such a fascinating concept, because I do really, really see that in many people that are in our industry, that they've had to go through. It's almost like, you probably disagree, Steve, but like you've had to go through the trenches to come out the other side, and it can be such a horrendous experience getting through that initial training, can't it? And feeling like, why am I doing this? Why am I putting myself through this? You know, you're not only just learning a skill, but you have to deal with your client's expectations. If something goes wrong, if something's not perfect because it's a tattoo, you're not tinting their brows.
God, it's so stressful.
It's so stressful. So for you to make that connection there, that really, really shows how powerful that is. And did you do the paraglides?
I did.
You did, yeah.
I did, yeah. But I have to remind myself all the time to ignore the fear in my head. I mean, we've just literally in the last few days invested in a motorbike. We call it our motorbike. But I've not been on a motorbike for years, because we sold the motorbike that Steve used to have when Archie came along. So just yesterday, I went on the back of a motorbike for the first time in, 12, 15 years.
Wow. What was it like?
Yeah, it was great. It was great fun. But standing there on the driveway, I was a little bit apprehensive, Lara. But that dialogue in my head was, Alice, you've done this loads of times. You've ridden your own motorbike. You've done your own motorbike test, which I didn't pass, by the way. But you've done this lots. You've jumped on the back of people's bikes when you've lived abroad. What are you worried about? So I'm a big dialoguer in my head, talking to myself into things and out of things sometimes. But
you do. It does seem like you do like that. You are adventurous. You said that before. You have that adventurous nature.
I don't think I am anymore.
No.
What
do you think took that away?
I don't know. I like sitting on the sofa and eating biscuits and drinking cocktails and going for dinner. I mean, that's far more comfortable. I like how the adventurousness makes me feel. So I like overcoming that.
Do you think maybe part of that, now I know your husband Steve is extremely adventurous and does lots of thrill-seeking activities, but do you feel like maybe that was the way you were, but maybe having children may have changed that, but also finding that within permanent makeup and the choices that you've made in your career, do you feel like that has compensated for that a little bit as well?
Maybe. I mean, I definitely can't compete with the adventurous nature of my husband's hobbies. What I like is that feeling of overcoming something. Okay. So whilst it was lovely yesterday pootling around Surrey on the motorbike and going and having a Coke at a local pub and driving back along the river was lovely. But it's a tiny little sense of achievement. And those nuggets are important. And I think that with permanent makeup, we get that a lot. We have the opportunity to learn and then add on, whether it's learning brows and then learning ombre or a different powder style or a different needle or learning eyeliner or going on a masterclass or changing the pigments that we have. There are lots of opportunities to change the way that we do things, to challenge ourselves.
Yeah.
And when even if it is something small, like jumping on the back of a motorbike that you've done hundreds of times, changing your pigment brand, which most of us have done lots of times.
Yeah.
To be able to do something, make a change, and there to be a positive outcome feels good.
Yeah, absolutely.
And they're all confidence connectors like that, I think.
Yeah, and you're so right. It is exactly like that, almost on a day-to-day basis, isn't it? Because every day is a challenge with a different client, with different skin, having to problem solve. And then when you feel like you've overcome a little bit of a problem, like you said, you're getting that kind of gratification from it in that sense.
And there's always a new one. Yeah. There's always the client that turns up that you feel might be a bit difficult. Or the client turns up a lot. The client that turns up and they're super anxious.
Yeah.
Or your equipment's not doing what you expect it to do on that day. There are always those challenges and those changes as we go through, which I think is what keeps me interested.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. I always say that. I always think it's the kind of job that I don't think you'd ever get bored of. I mean, I don't know, maybe, but I feel like it isn't, because you can always better yourself. You're always challenging yourself. You're always overcoming things. So, yeah. So then tell me about the UK PMU Conference and how that came about, because did that feel like a huge challenge, risk, something to overcome when you first took it on, or did it become that, or did you just sail through like you look like you do?
Put my mask on.
Yeah. Which I know is not going to be the answer, but
so the kind of introduction to the conference again happened because of a military move.
Okay.
So we were moving from one location to another. I was in a scenario that I needed somewhere as an artist to work from. And so I did what I had kind of grown used to doing, which was opening up Google, typing in permanent makeup and skin clinics and ringing people and saying, hello, this is me. I need somewhere to work from. Are you hiring any rooms? And I started renting space from the person that at the time was running the conference, and went to help with it. So I got to kind of dip my toes in, I guess. It wasn't my the idea of the conference wasn't my brainchild. It's something that I helped out with for a number of years before I took on and took over. And I'm not sure it would have been, well, I'm pretty sure it would not have been something that I would have decided to run an event from scratch. It was something that that I had found incredibly useful to me as a new artist, and something that I had found myself involved in, and felt that although the leap from being helper to owner and full-time organiser was a big one, that I could take a big breath, hold my nose, jump in with both feet and see what happened. And that's kind of where I am with it. So I did. I jumped in with both feet. I'm pretty sure I've come back up to the surface. And the event's great. It takes an incredible amount of time and effort and sleepless nights to run. And to run events, you have to enjoy that side of things. But it does give so much to people. The feedback that we get from the event is just incredible. As I mentioned, my first one, I think I'd only been machine trained for about 3 weeks when I went to my first conference. I'd been microblading for a couple of years, and I can just remember thinking, this is incredible. I didn't even know that things like this existed. I've been in the industry for 2 and a bit years, and I didn't know that people were flying in from one country to another and holding masterclasses and all of, and opportunities to hold pigments in your hand and try machines and just talk to people. I found so motivating and inspirational. And I guess that's my aim.
Yeah.
That's all that I'm looking to do.
I was going to say, is that because I know from personal experience how hard it is to run an event, and yours is massive, so it's tenfold on that. But is that what pulls you through? Yes. Because I see that in you at the end.
Yes.
It's that almost relief of like, you have given, you've done it.
I've done it.
But you've also given people so much. I see you watching people, and I can see that.
I literally, every decision that I make about that conference comes back to the artist experience. So, how much Prosecco we're going to put on the tables, who we're going to invite, whether that person that we're going to invite is just going to stand on the stage and speak about themselves, or whether they're actually going to give something educational. There are a lot of decisions that are made, and every single one of them has to be about attendees, because if it's not, people won't have a good time and they won't come back. And if they don't come back, then there's no event. So the event is actually run on a non-profit making basis. Again, something that I decided to do because I think there is a perception that events are big money making machines, and some of them are franchised and linked to brands, but as is a multi-brand event, it's independent. And the good side of that is that there is no kind of partner up the chain that we need to give kind of a certain amount of money or a certain amount of input to. All of the decisions are independent, and it also means that anything that we do make from the event can go straight back into the event for next time. And that's what I've done with the event in the last few years. So we've been able to support some charitable causes. We've been able to invite some speakers that perhaps we wouldn't have been able to finance otherwise, or wouldn't have been able to finance themselves. We've been able to invest in things like equipment and things like giving everyone access to a virtual replay of the event without it costing them any extra money. So, it is a big deal.
I think only if you have done an event, you know how true all of that is that you said, that It's such a massive feat, isn't it? And I know over the years, I've come to you almost in tears with how much work that goes into it, and only knowing that only you, and obviously other people that do events as well, but would know what that feels like and how. And I think the only way you would do an event like that is because of the value that it brings to people within the industry. And I think that's why that it's so special, because you're completely right. People, when they come to events, feel incredibly isolated, incredibly alone. And when you come to an event and you meet other people that are going through exactly what you're going through, it's priceless, isn't it?
Yeah. And I mean, the term networking is something that you hear events talk about time and time again. And I'm not sure that individual artists really understand what that means, because I think if someone was saying to me, come and network, and I was talking to myself right back at the beginning, I'd be thinking, well, network for what? I'm not at the moment thinking about launching a brand or an academy, or so what does that networking mean? And I think from a business point of view, business networking and making new connections and pushing a brand forward and things happens on a ridiculous level at events like this that are so important. Yeah. But for individual artists, it's that what I call water cooler moment, or the coffee stand moment, where you meet someone and you maybe talk about what you've just seen on stage or you've just seen a demonstrator do, and someone gives you their opinion. I don't do it like that. Well, why don't you do it like that? Tell me. I do it like this. This is what I use. This is the opportunity to then expand not only your circle of friends and the people that you know, but speak to real artists on the conference floor. Not just the people that are up on stage.
Absolutely.
It's usually the people that you meet that are talking about their own challenges, their likes and their dislikes, where those light bulb moments come. Absolutely. At the water cooler.
Like you said, the why moments. Why are you doing that? What makes a difference when you do that? It gives you that opportunity to do that.
And it's why people shouldn't be worried about coming on their own, because
absolutely.
The vast majority of people, certainly at our event, at the conference, come on their own, and I can guarantee you they leave with a whole load of new, phone numbers and contacts and confidants and a bunch of confidence that they didn't arrive with.
Absolutely.
But it can be daunting as an artist on your own. Just in general, it can feel really isolating.
Yes, absolutely. And that's what I think is the thing that what this is about as well. This podcast is understanding that we're all in a very similar boat, not the same boat, but when it comes to permanent makeup, we are all in a very similar boat. There's not anyone feeling like they're acing it and they're getting through it without...
Yeah. If anyone is acing it, can you let me know how you're doing it?
Yeah. Because that can be the perception, can't it? Sometimes with social media and within our industry, there is a strong emphasis on what everything looks like because of the kind of industry that we work in. It's, what we're working with clients and what they look like. And it can sometimes give that impression that everything is smooth sailing, that people learn to make microblade very easily. And we don't see the hard work and the pain, actually, that we have to go through to get through the other side. So it's lovely to hear from your side what you've gone through and the challenges that you've had to face and how you've managed to come out the other side. And if anyone is listening to this, I've come to you so many times with asking for lots of advice. What advice would you give somebody that is feeling like that?
I think you've just got to... One, you've got to be really kind to yourself.
Love that.
Imposter syndrome is massive in this industry as well.
Yeah.
And so I would say that having a bit of self-belief, give yourself that pep talk, a bit like my own internal dialogue.
Yeah.
sometimes you do need to just, give yourself a bit of a mental shake.
Yeah.
And just try and build on what inner confidence that you have, and to trust your gut. If something feels right, then make a considered choice if you have time to consider it, and probably to say yes more. I mean, we were sort of saying about this, beforehand. A lot of before we started recording. A lot of the paths that I know a lot of other artists have gone down were because they said yes to something that might have seemed a little bit daunting or scary.
Yeah. And do you think that's why imposter syndrome lives so much within our industry for artists? Because almost having to say yes when you're not ready is what gets you to that point.
Yes.
Rather than waiting until you're ready.
And, you hit on something else very important. Don't wait until you're ready. No one's ever ready. I don't think I've ever done anything ready. Don't know what that looks like. I think that we, as an industry, also have a lot of creative souls. And so as creatives, we can tend to be deep thinkers. And therefore imposter syndrome goes along with that as well. Deep thinkers, people pleasers, creatives. I think that goes hand in hand. But I also think that everybody feels like that.
Absolutely, yeah.
That if you've got a feeling that it's probably something else that other people are feeling too, I think it's very common.
And I think it's nice to find comfort in that, isn't it? And that's why it is really important to go to events, because you feel inspired by other people that have gone through that same path as you, and maybe figured it out, or maybe not figured it out, and
you can meet people that will give you a pep talk.
Yeah.
I mean, I have lots of people that I can ring and say, I'm finding this frustrating, or I need an opinion on something, or, what do you think about this? And sometimes their pep talk to me is to have a word with myself and get on with it. Again, my husband's very good at that. Tells me to put my big girl's pants on and get on with things. So it's good to have contacts that will 100%. Also will cheerlead you, will fight your corner.
Yeah, definitely.
And you can't do that on your own.
No. And it is Natalie always says, what does she say? Your network is your net worth. And it's more about putting yourself in situations where other people have overcome those problems. It inspires you and it shows you that there is a path to be able to do that. So also with your husband, tell me, I can see, and I have seen for a few years now, how well you work as a team, but would you have been able to do any of this without him?
Oh, 100% no. Maybe. No, 100% no.
What kind of support has he been for you?
Oh, I mean, he's probably insanely bored of hearing about pigments and eyebrows and conferences, but he is very good at not telling me how bored he is. I mean, at the conference last year, he was just incredible. He was the mover of banners and the usher of speakers, and checking that I'd had something to eat and checking that I'd had something to drink, and was definitely integral. I've made him book his dates off of work already for this one.
No choice.
No choice. But he's a really good sounding board. And I do get obsessive about covering the boiler and what size a leaflet should be, or, things like that.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's nice for someone to say, I think that's what you should do, or, you know what, I don't think it's that important. And I go, okay, that's fine. Great, I just needed to hear that. So, no, it wouldn't be possible without him.
And do you think...
He's got to drive the van this year as well, so...
He's not flying in with...
No.
flares and skydiving into the conference.
If it wasn't at Heathrow, it would be a very difficult job to stop him. So he does a lot of demonstrations with skydiving and flags. But yes, so
if you need any promo,
air traffic control at Heathrow is pretty strict on skydivers jumping in with smoke and flares. So.
Oh, amazing! And if you were to say to anyone, do you feel like, whether it's a husband, whether it's a friend, an auntie, a parent, how important is it to have somebody that you can, in this industry, you can turn to for support?
Oh, it's so important. So important. Again, though, just in life, it's important.
Yes, absolutely.
But as artists, most of us work on our own. If you're a hairdresser and something's happening with someone's hair, or you've got a decision to make about something, usually you would be in a scenario where you've got someone else on the shop floor that you can ask for an opinion, and whether that's an opinion on what you're going to do with that client, or a training decision, or whatever it is. We don't tend to have that as artists.
No. Harry always says, like, if you go to the pub, you could... I remember being a family worker, you'd usually bump into someone that, whether they were a family worker or a social worker, or they had some kind of... you could find some common ground with. But as a permanent makeup artist, you don't go to a pub or to anywhere and meet another permanent makeup artist, do you?
No, absolutely. So, yeah, it's really important that whether it is your partner, whether it's your best friend, whether it is just the artist down the road, that you send them a message on Instagram and say, hey, I'm in the same town as you, do you want to meet up and have a coffee? There's so much power in that.
So much.
Because if you do try and do everything by yourself, it's hard. I wouldn't have been able to make the conference evolve in the way that it has over the last 2 or 3 years without having the contacts that I've met from going to other conferences. Those people who I now consider friends are my sounding boards. They are the people that I can also phone up and say, I'm not feeling very well today, or I've just had a client in, she's driven me mad, or what do you think about X, Y, Z? Those are people that I've collected, I suppose.
Yeah.
And they're important.
Definitely. So what is the future for the UK PMU Conference?
Well, our next event is in June, which is super exciting. I have a little calendar that counts down in my head, so I have to keep thinking, right, how many weeks have we got? How many months have we got? Where are we kind of in the schedule? I hope that it will continue to grow. And I don't just mean grow in terms of numbers of attendees. We are, at the moment, the largest event in the UK. But it also has such a lovely vibe. And if it were to grow, if it was to grow kind of out of control, it might lose that. I'm very hands-on with all of the decisions that are made, and if I had to bring in a team of people to help me with that, then again, I'm a bit worried that it might lose some of its identity.
Yeah.
But it's growing. So we are at a new venue this year. We will have more live demonstrators so that people can see techniques on skin this year. We'll have just generally more space, because last year we sold out and it was cosy. So we'll have a little bit more space to be free flowing. I'd like for it just to really stay grounded in the educational, with the educational feel that it's got.
Yeah.
And so the industry will take it. It's not my conference. It will be swept along by what artists want to see. and
it's evolving.
That's
it's ever evolving.
Yeah, that's what gives it its strength.
Yeah.
I also visit lots of other events. So I steal the good ideas from other people. So if I see something that I think is going to be beneficial, then I'll add it.
Yeah.
And that is also part of the strength of me being an artist myself.
Yes.
Is that I'm not a corporate event organiser that has decided this is a good idea. The choice is about where the conference goes and how it might evolve comes back to that artist, that attendee being the centre, the centre reason for everything.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I'm not very good at planning those things.
Well, like you were saying, it's just going with the flow, isn't it? Sometimes it looks as if everything's planned out and strategic, but actually it's moving and being adaptable and being fluid with it. And that's where the most, inspirational and unique things are born. And I think that's definitely
and
the
we're
conference.
also really big on feedback. The last few years that I've been organising the event, checking in with attendees, seeing what they liked, seeing what they didn't like, asking what they want more of, asking who they'd like to see again.
Yeah.
There are a couple of speakers on our lineup this year that have been on our lineup before. Well, guess what? They're there on our lineup again because they were so bloody good that people want them back.
Yeah.
So it's very feedback driven.
Yeah.
Very feedback driven. People this year wanted definitely to see more medical and sort of camouflage techniques.
Brilliant.
So we've got a few more bits and pieces that are along that vein.
Yeah.
I know that for most artists that isn't the core of what they do, but that was something that people had asked for more of.
Yeah.
They wanted more opportunity to try products.
Okay.
So to try products, to speak to brands, to speak to businesses that were connected with the industry.
Brilliant.
And our bigger venue gives us the opportunity to do that. We've got more space, so there will be more touching and feeling of products and talking to brands.
Lovely.
Which again is really important, both ways for artists and the corporate or small brand that they're speaking to.
Yeah, absolutely. And finally, if you could go back and sit with younger Alice that maybe sometimes felt like she didn't quite fit in or she didn't quite conform, what would you say to her about how that trait or that part of her personality has shaped you into the person that you are today?
I'd probably just tell her to keep going, I guess. I wouldn't have been able to tell her anything different. She wouldn't have listened. She wouldn't
even take advice from future you.
Yeah, absolutely. Maybe she'd ask me why. But I think keep going, trust your gut, keep positive. There'd be, plenty of things. Just keep being you. Try and keep it authentic when you can.
Yeah.
God, that would be an opportunity to go back and speak to your younger self, wouldn't it? But yeah, I'm not sure she necessarily would have listened. I think she probably would have thought she knew better.
I love that answer. Well, I think you should be so proud of everything you've brought to the industry. I would like to say on behalf of the industry, thank you so much for everything
that makes
you've
me
brought.
feel very humble. Thank you.
It's massive, and I think I know what it means to artists, but I don't think you probably realise how much it means to artists, bringing people together in a space where they can access education, but more importantly, access that connection to other people and to people that they aspire to be like or follow in the footsteps of. So I think you should be super proud, and we are super grateful for you.
I've just got to hope I don't mess the next one up.
You won't, you'll be fine.
But thank you, I appreciate that. But yes, I feel very humbled to be asked, to be even seen by a single person in that vein seems very strange. But thank you very much for inviting me.
No, you're very welcome. Thank you so much for sharing.